Food is used as a political weapon. But if you have a pig in your backyard and some vegetables in your garden, you can feed yourself and your family, and nobody can push you around. That was from Fannie Lou Hamer. My name is Reverend Dr. Heber Brown III. I'm the founding executive director of the Black Church Food Security Network. Fannie Lou Hamer's words that were spoken in the mid-1900s might as well have been applied to right now. For here, at this sacred land, is where the Black Church Food Security Network started. While pastoring the dynamic people of the Pleasant Hope Baptist Church, I realized that many of our members were hospitalized over and over again because of diet-related issues. I wanted to do more than just pray and provide scripture. And so we began growing food right on our land. It's been a blessing ever since for this one congregation. But then God gave vision that if this kind of power could come through this type of program at one church, what would happen? It could spread to many African-American churches all over the country. And that's just what happened. In 2015, during the Baltimore uprising, you saw the marches. Many of you saw demonstrations and protests. But what you didn't see was this church partnering with Black farmers to feed our community. We would load food up on our church bus. I would drive it around the city and make sure that our community had food. After a couple of weeks of doing that, we realized that we had the beginnings of our own food system, a just food system. And now our work continues far beyond the city limits of Baltimore. We're across the country, working with churches and bishops and denominations in every time zone to advance Black food and land security and sovereignty in our community. 2020, what a year it has been. From a global pandemic to the latest chapter of police brutality visited upon the Black community. This has been a challenging year already. What we also recognize is that when it comes to food, there's also been many challenges. Some of you have seen the strain upon the food system. Your favorite grocery store doesn't have all the food that you want and or need. It's been harder to get what you need for your household and your family. And we're hearing now the possibility that there will be a second wave of this virus and, of course, a continuation of state violence against our community. It's time for us to do something. The Black Church Food Security Network is issuing a call to action. On Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, we are launching a summer-long campaign to help empower the Black community. We can't wait for anybody else to come save us. Now it's time to roll up your sleeves and take our destiny in our own hands.
In light of all you just heard, join us, the Black Church Food Security Network, in the Faith, Food, and Freedom Summer Campaign. We are calling all churches, including yourself, to join us in promoting gardening, patronizing Black farmers, and practicing emergency food storage. So tell your denominational leader, tell your bishop, and tell your pastor to join the Black Church Food Security Network in the Faith, Food, and Freedom Summer Campaign.
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. I want to welcome you all to the Faith, Food, and Freedom Summer series. I am excited to be in community with you all again on another Sunday, to learn from you all, to engage with you all. I first want to know, where is everyone checking in from? So if you don't mind writing your location in the chat box, shouting out your church and shouting out your pastor in your chat box. I am Siobhan Terrell. I am the Deputy Director of the Black Church Food Security Network. And I am also representing Pleasant Hope Baptist Church, located in Baltimore, Maryland, under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Heber Brown III. So this is going to be a good conversation, y'all. So I want you to share this with your networks. I want you to text your friend, text your cousin, text your sister, tell everyone to tune in to this webinar. It is located on Facebook Live and YouTube. So if they don't have a Facebook, they can tune in on YouTube. And our name on YouTube is the Black Church Food Security Network. So they can just head over to YouTube, type in the name of the organization, and the live stream will appear there too. So I also want to encourage you all to connect with this Faithful and Freedom Summer. We are calling all churches, no matter where you are in the U.S., no matter where you are in the world, we are calling churches to connect back with the land and connect back to agriculture through our three main goals. Our first goal is to promote gardening. So if you're like, how do I even do that? What is the first step? I want to start growing. Is it too late? Because summer is kind of almost over. No, it's never too late to put seeds in the ground and start growing food. We also have videos on YouTube that will teach you how to regrow commonly purchased products and produce from the grocery store at home. So it's never too late to start growing at home. You don't even need a full yard. You just need a small space and a pot to start growing with. And our second goal of the Faithful and Freedom Summer Campaign is to patronize Black farmers. We are building a community-based, equitable food system. And in order to do that, we have to support our farmers. We have to support our Black farmers within our community. So we have a Black Farmer Directory on our website, www.blackchurchfoodsecurity.net, where you can type in your location, your address, and Black farmers will appear on the map that you can support. It will also list the produce that they currently have available now and ways that you can contact them. And then our last goal of the summer is to practice emergency food preparedness. How many of y'all know how to preserve your food, know how to can? I have fond memories of my grandma making jams and jellies from peaches. So we have resources available on our website where you can learn how to preserve food. And I can bring y'all some good news on this Sunday. Again, because you went to church early, so you got good news earlier. But I'm going to bring some more good news on this day, that in August, we are having another series of classes that's going to teach me, because I don't know how to can and preserve our foods properly. So everyone be on the lookout for this series that's going to launch in August. And it's going to be every week in August. We're going to learn a different tip about preserving food. So I'm excited, y'all. As y'all can see, I'm excited for what this summer has to offer, as well as I am excited to introduce our speaker, Dr. Pernessa Seele. Dr. Pernessa Seele is the founder and CEO of the Bomb and Gilead, a not-for-profit organization celebrating 3 decades of providing technical training and services that strengthen the capacity of faith institutions in the United States and Africa to promote health education, disease management, and services that contribute to the elimination of human suffering. Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people. Essence magazine, in the 35th anniversary edition, selected her as one of the 35 most beautiful and remarkable women in the world. Ebony magazine named her as one of the Power 150, and she was selected by Women's E-News as one of its 21 leaders of the 21st century. She believes loving your neighbors As You Love Yourself is key to healing our world of stigma, hate, fear, and shame. Everybody, let's clap our virtual hands for Dr. Pernessa Seele.
Hey, it is such a joy to be with you on this Sunday afternoon. Such a joy.
Yes, I am so excited to pull out my notebook and learn all that I can learn from you. Because just reading your bio got me excited. So I'm actually going to pass the baton to Pastor Brown so he can take this discussion away and I can just take notes.
All right. Dr. P.
Pastor Brown.
Well, listen, I just want to thank you so much for spending a few moments with us tonight to share about the remarkable work that you are doing and have been doing for very long. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I just love what you are doing. I remember when I just came across, it was a divine occurrence when I just came across you on the internet, and I'm like, what? The Black Church Food Security Network. I got to get in touch with these folks because they are speaking my language, and I am so excited that we've connected. I'm so excited about what we can do together because there's one mission here. We got to save Black folk. Amen.
Amen and amen. And I got to tell you, I feel the same way about Bomb and Gilead. I mean, you have been a leader with respect to public health and the faith community for such a long time. And one of the reasons why I think that's so important, Dr. P, is because I'm blessed to connect and meet with many students of public health. They're going through Johns Hopkins and other schools, going through their public health departments, right? But when I talk to them about the faith institutions of our community, many of them have a blank. Like they have nothing. They don't have a point of reference personally. They don't have a professional idea of how to connect with African-American churches around public health. And the idea I got recently was to start just funneling these students in your direction and say, listen, go sit at Dr. P's feet. Go sit at the feet of the Bomb and Gilead, and then talk to me about public health in the Black community. Because if you're not talking or thinking about the Black church in the public health realm, then you're really missing the boat, in my opinion. And your work and your organization only reinforces my belief there. I got to tell people real quick, I got the blessing last year to present at your Healthy Churches conference. And it blew my mind. Number one, I got to let everybody know. I've said it in private. I'm going to say it in public. Dr. P got one of the sharpest teams I've ever seen. They got to be former FBI, Navy SEALs, astronauts. I don't know who these people are, but the way they come together behind your leadership, Dr. P, it's a credit to what you have done and have been doing. You've been, before I get to the conference too deep, you have started this organization 31 years ago with respect to trying to get our churches healthier and thinking more about this temple that we preach, teach, and sing about and caring for it well. What did you see 31 years ago that prompted you to start Bomb and Gilead Incorporated?
Well, I tell you, I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as I possibly can because nothing about the Black church is simple. It is nothing. But 31 years ago, the HIV, the AIDS epidemic was raging, and it was raging all over the country, all over the world. And I was in New York. I was working at Harlem Hospital. I still had my research hat on as an immunologist, and as working for Harlem Hospital, and I had come from a methadone clinic. Being one of the first AIDS educators in New York City, working, trying to create a whole new paradigm. You know what I mean? How do you address HIV within, the methadone clinic, the methadone population? And so I moved from there to Harlem, and now I am seeing patients every single day, but I'm seeing patients who are dying alone. I'm seeing patients, nobody's coming.
Wow.
And when I go up to see, not as a doctor, but someone more as an administrative, a person, service person, they want to talk, they want someone just to sit and talk with them. And I was two days into this new job, and I didn't like this job. I did not like this job. And I remember one morning I was in my little studio apartment in Harlem on Stivers Row, and I said, I just got to pray on this situation. And when I said that, a little light came up, a little idea to do a Harlem week of prayer for the healing of AIDS, because I understood, as I continue to understand, that the church, the Black church, as you know, it is our most influential institution then and now. It doesn't matter whether you like the church, don't like the church, like the pastor, don't like the pastor. It don't matter. It is still the most influential institution for Black people in the United States and in the world. So folks didn't know what I was talking about. They didn't know me. And this little Harlem week of prayer for the healing of AIDS. And, coming out the gate, it was really misconstrued, because folks immediately thought I was a healer, and I was talking about we're going to lay hands on and pray. And that's okay. You know what I mean? But I was really talking about cultural competence. There were many folks who had gone to the church to get them involved with HIV and AIDS, but they went with a condom and a banana. And that didn't work.
Wow.
I went with something they understood. The week of prayer for the healing of AIDS. Well, it really was an AIDS education awareness campaign.
Wow.
And I think that's for Bomb and Gilead. That was the beginning of who knew I was going to be doing this for 31 years and more. But, we have to, the students that you're talking about and the professionals that you're talking about, in our communities, we lack cultural competence. You know what I mean? We just don't get an influx of folks who really understand us. They understand the research, and they want to research us to death, but they don't take time to understand who we are as Black people, why we are as Black people. And I've shared all over the world that there's a whole lot more going on in church than singing and shouting. What you see is singing and shouting, but there's a whole lot going on than singing and shouting. And the Black church is still the Underground Railroad in our community. And if we're going to make a difference on anything, we have to know how to partner with and activate and educate and move forward, regardless of theology, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. That's not the point. Respect is what is needed for us to join forces with this most influential institution to make a difference.
Wow.
So here we are, 31 years later.
Wow, that is so powerful. Y'all, did y'all hear what Dr. P said? Dr. P said the church is still the Underground Railroad for our community. That spoke to my heart, Dr. P, and I am so moved by the story. I didn't know that story. I didn't know Harlem and the week of prayer for the healing of AIDS. I didn't know that backdrop and story, but it makes sense that with that backdrop, your ministry, your organization just touches on the everyday real issues and challenges that affect our people outside of Sunday morning.
Right. See, the Harlem Week of Prayer gave way to the National Black Church Week of Prayer for the Healing of AIDS, because folks around the country were trying to get churches involved. They understood why they had to get to church, but they didn't know how to get to church.
Right.
So I transform it to a National Week of Prayer for the Healing of AIDS, which really is the catalyst for Black AIDS Awareness Day, of which we were a part of, because under the Clinton administration, they really didn't want to do the faith community. So they started the Black AIDS Awareness campaign, which that's another story for another time. And all the AIDS awareness from CDC really came out of the thought of the National Week of Prayer for the Healing of AIDS. And then further down, when we came up into, in 2000, we rolled out to 6 African countries, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, South Africa. And I was running back and forth and mobilizing faith communities on the continent to address HIV and AIDS, bringing Muslims and Christians together. And then in 2005, we took all that we learned, because we learned a lot, and took it to Africa. And we learned a lot in Africa and brought it back home. You know? And I think as we look at the journey ahead, the work we have to do is bringing that bridge. Yes. You know, we have to bring, because we have to bring the diaspora together in talking about health, because we still operate in silos. The Africans on the continent don't understand what we go through over here. And, we understand a little bit, but we don't understand the root of our culture. You know what I mean? When I'm in Nigeria, I'm like I'm home. If I'm in Tanzania, I feel right at home. And I think that there is some healing work that we have to do, around health, around food security, because when you talk about food security and water security in Africa, oh my goodness. And the faith institution is still the most influential institution on the continent, as it is right here. And when you so in 2005, we began to roll out and do cervical cancer, and and now we have a diabetes initiative, and now we're dealing with Alzheimer's and cancer. Right. So we said, 7 years ago, let's do Healthy Churches 2020, and now we're doing Healthy Churches 2030 with a 10-year campaign. Where are we going? You know what I mean? How can we look different, in 10 years than where we are now? You know what I mean? Where is the roadmap for the Black Church, of which Black Church Food Security Network got to be at the forefront, because the work you're doing around food is critical for us 10 years from down the road.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I appreciate that. We share an urgency there when it comes to health, when it comes to food security and the like. But what I also appreciate about what you've shared tonight, and even what I saw firsthand at Healthy Churches 2020 at the conference last year, I saw different denominations. I saw people from different regions. I saw Black folk from all over coming together with a shared concern and commitment around health. And because I do work in the area of organizing bishops and denominations and churches across the board, I am very clear that it is no easy job bringing our folk together across regional lines, denominational lines, church affiliations. How in the world, Dr. P, have you brought people who, perhaps on their own would not look to reach across the denominational aisle or the doctrinal aisle? You brought them together under this banner. How in the world did you do that?
Well, I tell folks all the time, you got to be called by the Lord to work with the Black church. That's one of my mantras. You got to be called by the Lord to work with the Black church. I've gotten that question so many times over these years.
Yeah.
And the foundation of the answer is that I get each and every one of them to work with me, to work with my idea. And then with them working with me, they get to know each other and find commonality with each other by first engaging them with the vision and mission of the Bomb in Gilead. And that's really how it works. I'm not really asking them to out the gate to work together. I'm asking them to work with me, and in working with me, you get to meet a Pastor Brown. You get to meet a Bishop Battle. You get to meet, a Pentecostal of Bishop Horace Smith, Apostolic Faith. You know what I mean? That you may not have nothing. I'm not with that Pentecostal Apostolic Faith, but then you get to meet people. You get to, meet Reverend Gloria Mitchell. You know what I mean? And you say, oh, we have something in common. Oh, our theologies may be different. That's not the issue. We're not dealing with theology here. We're dealing with to love the Lord, love your Lord, your God, love your neighbor as yourself. What can we do? What can we do on those three things? Hang the law. You know what I mean? Love the Lord, love your neighbor, love yourself. It's
right.
Simple. Yeah.
Right. Have there ever been any moments where you had to remind the religious leaders that came to the table, or had to steer kind of a conversation away from a theological kind of debate, or wrestling? Like how have you kept people focused on, wait a minute, y'all, we are here to love the Lord, our God, with all our heart, soul, and strength, and our neighbors ourselves. We're not doing the theological debates. We're not doing the whatever. Have you ever had to kind of just remind folks to get focused?
Yes. And again, I do that in a cultural way. I what comes to mind, the most profound, is working in Africa with archbishops and Christian, the archbishop and the bishop and the this and the mufti and the imams,
right.
around HIV, and they are both blaming each other for HIV. Wow. Christians are talking about, we wouldn't have no HIV if y'all would just have one wife. You know what I mean? And the Muslims are saying, you know what I mean? We wouldn't have no HIV if y'all hadn't just let all the white folks come into Africa and take over. Just go on and on. And but guess what? The virus does not care whether you are Christian or Muslim. You know what I mean? It does not matter. And so, bringing it back to focus on why we are here, now there's another conversation that I know is that, for the Muslim community who was saying, well, we have 1 and 2 or 3 or 4 or wives, and the whole culture around taking care of that whole tribe and community. That's one thing. Well, you Pastor Brown, there are Christians who got more than 1 or 2 or 3. We may not call them the wife, but
right.
It's the same thing. We just call it something different. You know what I mean? And what's most important is that you don't get hooked up. The leader don't get hooked up in the blame game.
Okay.
Don't get hooked up into the politics that takes you off track. You know what I mean? Y'all can have that conversation outside. You've been having it forever. It's an ongoing conversation. You know it very well. But the focus today is, how do we address the issue at hand? But when we understand the cultural components of the community, then we can stay around, those issues if they come up, and keep it focused on what we're trying to do.
Right. Can you share, and for those who are not familiar with Bomb and Gilead, the website is there on the screen. Go check out this phenomenal organization. I love how you talk about the Black church here and on the continent. I could not agree with you more about its power, about its standing, about the credibility that it has in communities, whether people, like you said, I love it, whether they like the pastor or not, whether people disagree or agree or not. The fact of the matter is, this institution is a rock and foundation for our people. Can you share with us some examples that you've seen over the 31 years perhaps where the full power and strength and potential of the church, of the Black church, was on full display? Like maybe some things where it's like, this is what I saw in my head and now it's happening. This denomination is doing this church is doing that. What have you seen in the way of the Black church really kind of flexing its muscles and showing what it can really do?
Well, I'm gonna talk about going, because we're spending time in the historical
Sure.
view of this. You know, in the 90s, when we were talking about faith and HIV, and Bishop Yvette Flunder and I were, you know, and a few others, but we were running back and forth the CDC, trying to get them to understand why we had to focus on HIV and the Black church. And as seasons change, you know, we really had to educate, a consistent education around why the Black church. And in 2000, when Health and Human Services, when we got to the place in the historical roadmap of HIV, it was around 2000 that we started talking about HIV testing. And everybody had the whole HIV testing campaign, you know, and it was important that people got tested. And we had to talk about, well, we have to get the churches to have that conversation. You know, the church has to make that, they have to make that sounding board, you know? And so the Bomb and Gilead, we were a part of the rollout, and we called our campaign, Our Church Lights the Way.
Wow.
That was the name of the campaign, Our Church Lights the Way. And we did a video, and we set the video in St. Philip's Episcopal Church in Harlem. Ozzie Davis was the voiceover.
Wow.
And the whole thing was staged in a Black church, with Black folks walking out of the church into the community with candle lights, talking about our churches lighting the way on HIV testing.
Wow.
Well, that campaign went all over the country, and it took hold. So from that, now at every moment, we have got to really fight principalities and say, listen, we know our community. You don't, public health officials.
Right.
We know. Let us lead on something we know, we believe, the cause. We got to get tested, but you don't know how to get this done. Right. And folks were, you know, if the CDC was doing a campaign, folks wouldn't come back to get their results. Well, we showed that when the Black church did HIV testing campaign, wow, guess what? People came and got the tests. People came back and got their results.
Wow.
And CDC had to say, whoa, what's happening here? What's happening here? Because, you know, we're doing data. You know, we're where public health and faith meet. You know what I mean? I understand your research, your concepts, your everything. You know what I mean? What you don't understand is the cultural competence of the Black community, which is what I understand. So they began to see that when the Black church led on HIV testing, people were actually coming back to get their testing results and moving into treatment. So you began to see churches like in Bethel AME Church in Wilmington, Delaware, Antioch Baptist Church in Bethel AME Church, Antioch Baptist Church in Cleveland, Ohio, just to name two, because there were many across the country, where the Black church began to do more testing than the public health department.
Wow.
The Black church began to do more testing in the state than the health department. Well, therefore, you need to start giving the money to the Black church to do the HIV testing. Because the Black church is doing a better job than your public health department. You see what I'm saying? So that was a season around, you know, that 2000, 2005, when we were beginning to talk about, you know, HIV testing, where the CDC had to say, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on here? And I think that it speaks to, you know, the activism, like what you do. You're the one who have to bring the public health and the faith together, you know what I mean, to say, this is how it works. I know you think that's how it's going to work, but that's not how it's going to work. And we did the same thing in Africa, you know, and where I had to fight more to say, well, who do you think was providing home-based care down in the village before you got here, CDC? Ooh. Who do you think has been doing this work before you got here? I mean, you have to go in with your gun and everything, you know what I mean? Trying to get folks who don't know nothing about you, don't look like you, to say, this is how it works. And if they take a chance, then they'll see, oh, we need to work with the Black nuns down there in Shinyanga to get this work done. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's been a serious. I get hot.
Just think about it,
man. It's been some work.
well, listen, we are better because of it. I know it's not easy based on what you're sharing, but we are better as a community because of your labor of love in that way. And going into those boardrooms, going into those offices, and going through this dynamic of trying to convince people who are not from our community that you know what you talk about. I mean, I've been in those type of settings too. It is such a frustrating thing sometimes when it's like, you're not even from our community. You don't even know our people, but you're going to tell us what is better for us because your research said it. Your research is wrong. And so I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing. And you talked about HIV, AIDS, and your outreach with that when it comes to that issue. But there's so many more. Y'all just had Memory Sunday last month. Can you talk a little bit about Memory Sunday and what that was all about?
Memory Sunday is it's all about, African Americans. We have among the highest rates of Alzheimer's in the United States, and most of us do not know it. But we are leading around Alzheimer's cases in the United States.
Wow.
And for us, it's always the root of misinformation, the root of generational how we see and talk about things, but mama a little senile now, mama's up there in age and she's a little forgetful now. You know what I mean? So again, the church is where our intergenerational camp is, and so we have to begin to educate our intergenerational camp that mama just ain't aging and have senile. You know what I mean? There are resources around dementia, you know what I mean? And Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. There's no such thing as Alzheimer's and then there's dementia. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Right there. That's a light going off right there. Because you'll say, well, mama got Alzheimer's, but she don't have dementia. Or mama got dementia, but she don't have Alzheimer's. There are several types of dementia, Alzheimer's being one of them, So Memory Sunday is the second Sunday in June. We run the nation's National Brain Health Center for African Americans, where we're constantly doing training around cognitive health. And our cognitive health really begins from childhood on up. You know what I mean? How do we, begin to understand the functionality of the brain? Because for African Americans, one would say, well, why we got more Alzheimer's than anybody else? Well, because we have more chronic conditions throughout our lifespan than anybody else. So, our high blood pressure when we're 30 and 40 and 50 and 60, and our diabetes and our obesity, Lord have mercy, Jesus, our obesity, all of these chronic diseases push the paradigm to us on Alzheimer's, and and then we have genetic markers, so we need to know that, once we get past, I believe it's 55, or 50. I'm not sure. Don't look it up. But when we go to get our annual physical, we need to ask for our cognitive test. It's free. It's free. So when you go for your annual, and Lord knows, let's make sure we go for our annual physical, that you say, hey, doc, I need my cognitive health, because that is now a part of our annual a checkup. We need to ask for a cognitive assessment so that if we know, then we can begin to, if we see signs or if we know that we have tendencies around dementia down the road, we can begin to address those tendencies. In the Black community, we see more and more Alzheimer's coming up at 40 years old. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's not just, 70, 80, 90, but in our community, we see so much 40-year-olds in that younger generation with Alzheimer's. So,
Wow.
there is so much that we need to know. So Memory Sunday, second Sunday in June. But for folks, please go to bombandgilead.org and go to our National Brain Health Center for African Americans. And there you will find a wealth of information on different types of dementia. You will find when we talking about cognitive health, we're talking about stroke, we're talking about epilepsy, we're talking about traumatic brain syndrome. We're talking about all of these cognitive conditions that African Americans face in an unprecedented way. And then we're doing pre-diabetes. Our Southeast Diabetes Faith Initiative in 6 states, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and now Mississippi. We chose churches, and now, of course, we had to move everything to virtual because of COVID. But people are coming into, the community centers that's a satellite of the church, doing fitness, every day, working on their pre-diabetes, trying not to cross over to diabetes, because, diabetes is a major epidemic among Black folks. You know what I mean? So if we can address the pre-diabetes point and really work hard at it, maybe we won't cross over to diabetes. So we're doing this we have over 1,000 folks, way over. And most of our churches, which is what I like about this program, it's in rural communities, Brunswick, Georgia, Biloxi, Mississippi. I love the rural community, because people who live in rural communities, they don't get no love. They don't get no information don't come through there. They don't have too much broadband. It's hard to reach them.
Right.
I got a love for people who live in rural America.
Beautiful. You don't even know this, Dr. P. And for those who are watching, y'all feel free to add your questions as well. We'd love to give some space for some of them as well. But in that last sharing, Dr. P, you just knocked on the front door of my family more times than you know, and probably for many people who are watching as well. One of the things that you said that really just hit me was how we talk about health issues in our family, or the things that we tend to say. Oh yeah, she a little senile. What we tend to say, and sometimes how we tend to explain some things away when it's really more severe than we're really giving it giving credit for. So for me, one of my first cousins recently had a stroke, and before she had the stroke, she was sharing with her siblings and saying things like, I don't know what's going on with my vision. I can't see too good right now. And I don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And her siblings were saying, oh yeah, girl, we getting old, right? And the thing that we say in our family is like, we getting old, our sight is supposed to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But what really was going on was she was having a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not know what to look for. We did not know what to listen for. We didn't know the signs. And it took my cousin having a stroke to have the younger cousins have a conversation about how we can do better to even know what to look for. So that when we start saying stuff like my vision or my head hurts or my this or my that, instead of dismissing it and laughing about it like, oh yeah, child, we just getting old, we need to know what to listen for so we know that, what needs emergency medical attention or prompt medical care, or the things we can do early on before we get to that point. I think that could be a whole show by itself. You just teaching us what to listen for amongst our loved ones and our relatives.
Absolutely. And that's how it goes with us. We just kind of brush it off. And because we got, we have, we hurt, we have pain,
Yes.
oh girl, my knee hurts today. Oh, child, must be the weather. Oh, Lord.
Right.
You know what I mean? And because we do that, then we get down the road and it wasn't the weather 2 years ago.
Wow.
Just this morning, I take care of a dear friend of mine who's going upon 86.
Wow.
And she just got out of the hospital, and to her, she had a bleeding stroke, and we had no clue. And thank God she's okay. You know what I mean? She's a little weak. She still got her faculties. She's still talking. Amen. And this morning I went over to take her some breakfast because she can't. She's now with her walker, but we don't want her dealing with the stove. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's strong. I can do it. And as we were sitting there, and she was talking about her leg hurts and this hurt and she and I just struck up a song, and and it's one of those old church songs that do harm and do good.
Wow.
On one hand, it does harm because we sing these songs, and this it's okay because I'm my faith and the Lord's got me. You know what I mean? And a lot of folks done died singing these songs. On another way, it's a positive song because all of us are coming to a transition. You know what I mean? All of us are moving to a transition. So as we were singing this song, with my 86-year-old friend, we were singing, "There's a leak in this old building, and my soul has got to move." My soul has got to on about this leak in this old building, and my soul has got to move. And as we were singing and having good fellowship this morning, I had to bring a balance to the conversation. A balance that the body. We can heal these leaks.
Right.
We can heal these leaks with some good eating food. You know what I mean? We can heal these leaks with taking care, and we can repair these leaks. Right. And at the same time, we know that transition, we're all heading to a transitional moment. So, we are just in a moment where we have to really begin to be conscious. And I think that even in my lifetime, we've kind of lost our way, which is why I love the Black Church Food Security Network. We've lost our way on how we used to eat. You know what I mean? How I could barely walk outside in all this heat, and it didn't bother me. It was hot down there in South Carolina. I don't know how my ancestors was in the fields all day long. All day. And I'm not talking about the ancestors who were slaves. Right. I'm talking about my mama and them who picked tobacco and picked some peas and whatever. How did they do that in this heat when I can barely walk to the mailbox and walk back, Right. And it's our lifestyle. It's our lifestyle and what we eat and how we prepare it.
Yeah. There are pastors, bishops, denominational leaders, church leaders who are going to watch this, who are watching it now, who have been moved by what you have shared, but we need some tips. If I wanted to do something beginning tomorrow, beginning this month at Pleasant Hope Baptist Church here in Baltimore, around some of the things that you've spoken about and so much more that your organization does, what would you recommend? You know what the health ministries look like in many of our churches. You know what that picture is. What steps would you recommend to help us go from where we are to raising the bar a little bit higher to where it is that we should be?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I hope that everyone, Healthy Churches 2030 Conference is going to be virtual this year. And registration is going to open August the 1st. And registration is for a group of 20 or more. Registration is $25 for each person. If you want to come solo, it's $75.
Come on.
So I am excited about bringing our Black church together. You know what I mean? The whole church can come for $25 a person. And we're together, a serious conference where we're always teaching how to have a health ministry. But it's really about the consciousness and meeting your church where you are. If you are in a urban church, you know what I mean, and bring the folks together and let's just look at the needs of what's in our congregation. You know what's happening in your congregation. You know there are folks with diabetes in your congregation. What do you need if someone goes into getting ready to have a diabetic stroke? Do you know what a diabetic stroke look like? What happens if someone needs CPR? Well, let's make sure we have the tools so someone knows how to give CPR. How about when Sister Mary comes in or Brother John comes in, and they look a little strange, but nobody says something. We're just gonna go over and pray with them. We have got to raise our consciousness about being responsible for the community. Yeah. And so with healthy, I believe that every church serving Black folks need to have a health ministry. And that health ministry can be small. Okay. If you have an annual health fair, well, have a better health fair. You know what I mean? Partner with the local people in your community. Do a better job getting people to come to the health fair. Everything is virtual now, but you know what? You can have some social distancing stuff on your street. We are a creative people. We are a creative people. And whatever you do, you can do it better. And you can grow to the next thing. There's no one church size. Look, everybody in health ministry does it like this. That's not the way. You know what's going on in your church, and you know where you need to begin. And come to the Bomb and Gilead. We have a lot of resources around how to begin, how to support, how to sustain your health ministry, and sign up for Healthy Churches 2030 conference, because we have major work to do. And COVID-19, Pastor Brown, has shown us that we have major work to do. I mean, we got caught with our pants down, most of us, one way or the other. Yeah. And, it's not going anywhere. What are we going to do about our children and education? We got folks making decisions about our children going back to school. What we going to do? What we going to do? If ever we need the coming together of our churches around health, around, health and activism, and I know someone wants to know, how do we do a better job with our health ministry? You do a better job by wanting to get better, maybe having a resource, now that virtual, every Thursday, the Bomb and Gilead sends out something called Healthy Sunday Morning Health Corner. Wow. And where we, all you have to do is send it out. When we go back to church, download it and put it in the church bulletin, or just download it. You have it, and then you send it to mama and all the cousins and everybody around the world. It's free. All you have to do is go to bombandgilead.org and sign up. And you get every Wednesday, you get something called Sunday Morning Health Corner that then you have access to, and then you send it to everybody you know. And of course, every Thursday is Dr. P on the pod, another platform of bringing information just like this, talking to the community in a way that we understand.
This is so powerful. I want to encourage everybody watching, get to bombandgilead.org. Check out the website, Dr. P on the pod. The link is there for the podcast. your book as well. We didn't talk about your book, but your book as well. You can get your book, Dr. P's book from the website. I want to see everybody watching this right now at the conference this year. I know $25 is in the budget. You can't tell me 25 is not in the budget. If 25 is not in the budget, we got some other problems going on. We need to work together. You got $25. And so be there. I can tell you from my personal experience of being at this conference last year, it blew my mind being there, meeting so many dynamic leaders from around the country. And Dr. P, you got me thinking even tonight about what we can do to take greater steps. And so, of course, because of the vision God has given us with the Black Church Food Security Network, Pleasant Hope is all over food, gardening, farming. We got tomatoes growing in the front yard of our church. The peach tree is pumping out peaches. We're about to do canned peaches. We got food everywhere. But the health side of the ministry needs to come up higher to where the food side is, which is why I love even the idea of your organization and the Black Church Food Security Network being in strategic partnership, because I think you're so right. We're looking at what everybody else is saying about our children, our food, our health. When we gonna sit down and say, you know what, this is what we got to do for ourselves. This is what we need to do for us. We ain't got time to wait for 45. We ain't got time to wait for Betsy DeVos to figure out. They're trying to, like you said, trying to send our children back up in these schools as guinea pigs before a vaccine or anything else is pulled together. What I see in your organization is a systematic response to the everyday bread and butter issues that our people face. And I thank God for you. I thank God for what you're doing. It's timely. I know it was timely and relevant 31 years ago. And I'm saying still 31 years later, this is a timely ministry, because as you said, a lot of us are not coming together physically, not being in the building in terms of our churches. But my seniors are doing these virtual meetings with their doctor. Mm-hmm. And they need help connecting with the technology and having somebody close enough to help process the information. Mm-hmm. So what it's doing for me, Dr. P, is making me think about how church needs to revolve, innovate, and remix and adjust to the time that we're in, because frankly, it don't look like Rona going nowhere no time soon.
Yeah. I think this is a new moment, and we need to catch it and grab it. You know, we need to catch it and grab it and prepare for the future. And I'm excited about it. You know, I was like, oh my God, virtual conference. Oh, we're going remote. But right. You know, God is just doing a new thing, and God is doing a new thing with ministry. Because we're now having to connect with people. People was coming to church, but we weren't really connected with them. We were just singing a song and giving a sermon. But now but church really now is about connecting. It's back to, it's back to old school connecting. And, I'm excited about our partnership. I'm just looking forward to it, because when I think about all the land that some of these Southern churches got, you know what I mean? All they got in the back is a cemetery and a whole lot of land. Good. And most of them are in food deserts. You know what I mean? And we just need to shake things up and get them growing some food and being responsible. You know what I mean? And it's just time. And if you're not gonna, if you feel like you just can't get out there and do the work, then you need to move out the way and let somebody else do the work. Because the Black community, we must go on. We must survive. We must transition to the next thing, and if we have to learn the virtual world or go by and honk a horn and say, hey, Sister Mary, how you doing today? You know what I mean? Or what, I'm from the country, so I like that kind of thing, Me
too.
I love that kind of thing. So we have got to find new ways to do ministry. And I think, you bringing back gardening and food and canning and all of these lost traditions. I'm just excited about, our partnership and how we're going to get the church and Black folks healthy. So the next generation, we're not 10 years from now, 2030, we ain't talking about all Black people with Alzheimer's and all this diabetes. We're going to change things in the next 10 years.
Come on.
That we just not going to be talking about this,
That's right.
We're not going to do it.
I'm so grateful and excited. Every conversation I go into with a bishop or a church leader, you were somewhere in my head, because I just feel like connecting these dots together. I'm very, you might got jump in.
There you go.
Okay. Here.
I'm not hearing nothing.
I'm on mute. I'm sorry. So Pastor Brown Wi-Fi is going out. So let me remove him from the screen. And I think what he was trying to say is he wants to thank you for the dynamic work that you are leading with the Bomb and Gilead. And then these are conversations that our community should be having now and in the future. Because as you know, there are so many health disparities that are disproportionately affecting Black communities. And in the spirit of like community building, we have to be the ones that change the conditions of our communities for ourselves as well as for future generations. So I think that's what he was trying to say. So he's back. I'm going to give him back the mic so he can finish.
But turn the mic on. We see you, but we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was saying, you already said it, Siobhan. You hit it right on the head. I
love your deputy director. She is nothing but the truth.
Listen.
She is nothing but the truth. You know what I mean? If you don't treat her right, I'm gonna grab her. I'm telling you. You don't treat her right, I'm gonna grab her.
No. I came and saw how your team was operating, Dr. P. I said, I need a team like that. And God sent Siobhan. She's a member of the church. She's a graduate of Tuskegee.
All right.
The pride of the swift growing South. And she's just a godsend. But we are working to build a team like what you have, because we want to be around for the long haul. We want to be a part of this 2030 testimony. So at your 2030 conference, we want to be there together to celebrate all the great things we have accomplished.
That's right.
Wonderful, how we've changed the narrative. The testimonies have changed. I am so looking forward to that. I have pastored generations of the same family, and I have seen disease jump from big mama to grandmama to mama, and now start flirting with the children.
Mm-hmm.
It is a part of my heart to do everything I can to interrupt the pattern of disease, the pattern of sickness, the pattern of living a low quality of life. And I think that your organization, I gotta say ministry, Dr. P.
Go right ahead. You call it whatever you want to call it. It's a Bomb and Gilead. You just call it whatever you want to call it.
You are the bishop of the Balm.
Bless you.
And every pastor watching needs to get to bombandgilead.org. Go to the website, sign up, get the information. Check out Dr. P on Thursday nights. Sign up for the conference. It'll be in November. Am I right, Dr.
November 16th to the 20th. And we're going to come strong. We are coming out the gate on our way to 2030, because this decade is a decade of change. And we're going to be talking about the Black church agenda. What is our agenda for this decade? How are we going to change things? How are we going to change things? So, hey, I'm excited. I'm excited about my partnership, and I'm going to tune in, and I'm going to get folks figuring out how we're going to learn how to can, and how we gonna get emergency food preparedness. Know what I mean? This is important. This COVID thing, and after COVID is gonna be something else. It's gonna be something else. We need to get in alignment. So I'm excited, and thank you so much for having me on. I so enjoyed talking with you today.
Well, likewise, my brother gives his regards. I just left him moments ago. For everybody watching, Dr. P invited my brother Anthony Brown and group therapy to come and to minister via through song at one of the conferences.
Yes. And when he was there, I just started singing "There Is a Bomb," and Anthony jumped on the keyboard and started playing. So listen, he was my accompaniment singing "There's One." So you send him some love right back to him from Dr. P, and him and I need to come and do that. We need to get together again. So we can, because we need to finish that song.
I love it. Well, thank you, Dr. P. We appreciate your time tonight. We know you're super busy, but thank you so much for making some time for us.
It was my joy, my joy. I so enjoy. And I'll talk to you real soon.
Real soon. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Bless you.
God bless you. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Siobhan. For those who came on a little late, of course, Siobhan gave us our church announcements and talked about the Faith, Food, and Freedom Summer Campaign. Some of you may have missed that video. We're going to pull that up in a moment, but you need to plug in, y'all. We're going to keep on going. The 95 days of summer, we're going to be growing food. We're going to be patronizing Black farmers. We're going to be participating in emergency food preparedness. I got some food, y'all, that I grew myself. I got mason jars on deck. And so check out this video, get connected. Here is our organization again, just for those who do not know, just go to blackchurchfoodsecurity.net, blackchurchfoodsecurity.net. We want to connect with you, and we want to connect you with all of our partners like Dr. P, like so many others that we've been interviewing all month long. We're all a part of the same family. Come on in the room. Let's get you connected and let's do our work together. Siobhan has that video. Let's check this out.
Food is used as a political weapon. But if you have a pig in your backyard and some vegetables in your garden, you can feed yourself and your family, and nobody can push you around. That was from Fannie Lou Hamer. My name is Reverend Dr. Heber Brown III. I'm the founding executive director of the Black Church Food Security Network. Fannie Lou Hamer's words that were spoken in the mid-1900s might as well have been applied to right now. For here, at this sacred land, is where the Black Church Food Security Network started. While pastoring the dynamic people of the Pleasant Hope Baptist Church, I realized that many of our members were hospitalized over and over again because of diet-related issues. I wanted to do more than just pray and provide scripture. And so we began growing food right on our land. It's been a blessing ever since for this one congregation. But then God gave vision that if this kind of power could come through this type of program at one church, what would happen? It could spread to many African-American churches all over the country. And that's just what happened. In 2015, during the Baltimore uprising, you saw the marches. Many of you saw demonstrations and protests. But what you didn't see was this church partnering with Black farmers to feed our community. We would load food up on our church bus. I would drive it around the city and make sure that our community had food. After a couple of weeks of doing that, we realized that we had the beginnings of our own food system, a just food system. And now our work continues far beyond the city limits of Baltimore. We're across the country, working with churches and bishops and denominations in every time zone to advance Black food and land security and sovereignty in our community. 2020, what a year it has been. From a global pandemic to the latest chapter of police brutality visited upon the Black community. This has been a challenging year already. What we also recognize is that when it comes to food, there's also been many challenges. Some of you have seen the strain upon the food system. Your favorite grocery store doesn't have all the food that you want and or need. It's been harder to get what you need for your household and your family. And we're hearing now the possibility that there will be a second wave of this virus and, of course, a continuation of state violence against our community. It's time for us to do something. The Black Church Food Security Network is issuing a call to action. On Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, we are launching a summer-long campaign to help empower the Black community. We can't wait for anybody else to come save us. Now it's time to roll up your sleeves and take our destiny in our own hands.
In light of all you just heard, join us, the Black Church Food Security Network, in the Faith, Food, and Freedom Summer Campaign. We are calling all churches, including yourself, to join us in promoting gardening, patronizing Black farmers, and practicing emergency food storage. So tell your denominational leader, tell your bishop, and tell your pastor to join the Black Church Food Security Network in the Faith, Food, and Freedom Summer Campaign.
Thank you again, y'all, so much for checking out tonight's broadcast. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Let's stay connected and continue to do this very important work together. God bless y'all and have a wonderful, wonderful evening and a wonderful week as well. Any final thoughts?
Yes,
Siobhan,
everything is good over
you
here.
all good?
We will see y'all next Sunday, the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and the same place. So however you are watching this, either on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, we will see y'all next Sunday.
May the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. Amen. Good night.